Well, hello. It's January 3rd, 2025, Friday, and I'm here with Doug to talk about a Bitlocker bypass, among other things. Uh, the first thing, however, on my list is Tesla. Uh, you may have seen all the nonsense about the H-1B visas, where Trump originally said no immigrants at all. Then Musk said, I really like H-1B visas. And then Trump says, oh, yes, H-1B visas are great. But of course, what they keep saying about H-1B visas is these are to bring in high-tech, high-skilled workers because they can't find Americans that can do the job. But Tesla just replaced a whole bunch of U.S. workers with foreign workers on H-1B because you can pay them 40% less and make them work more hours. So it is exactly what they say it isn't. It's just like outsourcing. It's just replacing American workers with cheap foreign workers who are indentured servants. So, in case anybody had any illusions, we're watching America descend into kleptocracy and kakistocracy. It's words I've learned. I mean, to rule by crooks and rule by the stupidest and dumbest among us. Uh, I would have thought a democracy would not elevate crooks or idiots, but I would have been wrong. Those are the people that rise to the top. Anyway, are going to see incredible corruption, the new Gilded Age coming up. Uh,
Are you, Sam, are you surprised?
yes, very much so.
Are you?
I remember 9 years ago talking to a student and saying there are no Nazis in America. They're not even 1%, and they couldn't take power. It could never happen here. And I believed that at that time. Now I have merged from the innocence to realize we're no better than Europe or anywhere else. That's what my European friend said at the time. They said, you live in a fool's paradise. You just don't know that half of the people around you would gladly kill the other half. And
Yeah.
that's obviously true. Um, so
Yeah.
we're living through the same thing every other nation is going through. Many other nations is the rise of fascism again. It's it's strange how all our attempts at democracy and everything have not stopped a government rising that serves no one. Anyway, um, the theory of democracy is that eventually the voters will notice that they're getting the opposite of what they voted for, and they will vote for the other team. We'll see. Um, anyway, I might as well get to the one I thought was the most interesting
Well,
one
wait.
today.
Since,
Yeah, go
since
ahead.
you already since you already brought up Tesla
Yeah,
or Elon, so
yeah,
let me. That was one of my stories.
go ahead.
So Tesla sold 1.8 million cars in 2024, which I would argue is not too shabby.
Apparently, it's a little less than expected or something, right?
Yeah, it's off about 1%, but
Yeah.
still, it's pretty impressive.
Well, realistically,
And
there's a bunch of competition now, right? Until recently, they were really the only major electric car brand. Now there's a lot of other reasonable options, right?
yes and no. So this is kind of interesting. As you know, I've had an EV for a long time, several years, and they're great. And the one thing that everybody seems to overlook when it comes to EVs is it's all about the software. It's not about the car, it's the software. That's the most important part because as you're driving along, you need to know where you can get a charge.
So that
And
range anxiety is the big issue, right?
yeah, and range anxiety. We just drove to San Diego and back, and I have a Rivian. So going down, we went down Highway 5, and the Rivian chargers along Highway 5, but there are only three or four of them.
Wow.
And meaning locations where you can charge.
In what what's that, 600 miles or something?
Yeah, and 400 miles, something 500 miles in that
That's really
stretch.
awful. So you have to go like 50 or 100 miles out of your way to get to one.
No, 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 no. You drive down Highway 5,
Yeah.
and instead of the gas station, you pull into a charging station.
Yeah, but that means you could easily be 50 miles from a charging station.
Yeah, you are, well, from a Rivian charging station.
Man. And that's why
Now,
nobody wants to get them. I mean, that's crazy.
no, this is why everybody wants to get a Tesla. So
Well,
just
yeah,
hold on one second.
yeah.
You look at the other chargers for non-Tesla drivers, and they're probably I don't have an exact number, but let's say between San Francisco, Bay Area, and Los Angeles, there are a number of charging stations scattered going down I-5, but there are five here, there are eight there. And as we were driving, you'd watch as non-Tesla drivers had to wait an hour, maybe an hour and a half in line to get a charge.
Oh my God.
Now, I'm at the Rivian charging network, which is across the parking lot from the non-Rivian, non-Tesla, and there are eight chargers there, and two are in use. So, did I have a problem? Absolutely not at the Rivian chargers. I could pull up, charge, I'm there for 15 minutes, and I'm off again. I look at the non-Tesla drivers. They're there for an hour, maybe 2 hours, waiting before they can get a charge. And granted, this is one of the busiest travel days of the year or busiest travel times. Now, you go to Tesla. You look at Tesla. There've got to be at least 2 to 3,000 chargers between the Bay Area and LA. And you pull up at Harrah's Ranch, which is about not quite halfway, and they have over 100 Tesla chargers. Non-Tesla chargers, I think they have 8 or 10, 12, right? You go to Kettleman City, which is about 30 miles down the road. They have literally 100, not quite, but about 100 Tesla chargers. You keep going. There are 100 here, there are 100 there. The whole way down, there is no range anxiety. So luckily, Rivian has a partnership with Elon. And so I can charge with an adapter at a Tesla charging station. Now, the dumb part is once you get closer to LA, is the charging cords on the Tesla are very short. So the placement of the charging port on the Teslas is in the rear. Most other vehicles, it's in the front. And it's not at the very front, but it's set back like just before the driver's door, for example.
Hmm.
Now, to charge at a Tesla station, I have to pull in and take up two parking places, two charging spots, because the cord is so short. So Tesla is supposed to be fixing this, blah 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 blah. But in the meantime, you got Tesla people who the Tesla chargers are all filled at one of them at a little service station, gas station that also has Tesla chargers, and they're like, "Hey, you're taking up two spots." But if you read in the Tesla app, it says non-Tesla charger drivers may charge at a Tesla station, charging station, and have to take up two parking places. Elon, I'm making that last line up, but tough. So, but the thing is, you drive down the road 5 minutes and there are another 20, 30 charging stations.
Hmm.
Now, interestingly, when I was getting yelled at for charging at a Tesla station, the guy next to me happened to be part owner of the place where I was getting a charge. He was one of the original Tesla purchasers that has unlimited free charging for life.
Hmm.
So it's like that United Airlines free airfare. I mean, he paid for the original, purchase, but it sticks with, I believe, him or the car. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it's a great deal for him. And he told me that he was part owner of that service station, kind of convenience store, mini mart, gas station, Tesla charging station. He said that even though the Tesla chargers are always busy, they don't make as much money off of the Tesla chargers compared to gasoline for the equivalent amount of energy, if you will. It's more of a money loser.
Hmm.
So, or it's not as profitable. They're not losing money, but they get a few cents a kilowatt, where gasoline they get, I don't know, a nickel a gallon. I'm making those numbers up. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he said, what we'd really like to do is buy the land that's next door, put in a bunch of chargers, but it's just not that profitable yet.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. It's
It's
early.
it's yeah, it's also interesting that there's time of use, or I'll call it time of charge. So PG&E and the other big power companies have what's called time of use. So depending on when you buy your electricity, you pay a different rate. And I don't know if you remember, but Coca-Cola was going to try that with their vending machines, that they had temperature sensors. When it's hotter, you pay more for a Coke. And people said, nah, we're not going for that. So I guess if it's freezing outside, Coca-Cola would be maybe 50 cents. But if it's 90 degrees, it would be $3. Again, I don't know the numbers, but those numbers are an example. So Tesla is doing that, and so are some of the other EV companies. And boy, they're charging 71 cents a kilowatt, which is really high. If you're part of a subscription plan, either Tesla or Electrify America, you're paying maybe 35 cents. So if you're not part of the subscription, you're paying almost double, but they have time of use. So if you charge between 8 and 10 in the evening, you pay a premium. If you charge after 10, it's less, and if you charge after midnight, it's less. So they're still working this out. But I got to tell you, and again, this is California, but the Tesla software is incredible. It tells you where there's a charger, how many chargers are in use, right? And you can plan your trip based on that. Rivian does sort of the same thing. Ford, Chevrolet, VW, it's a crapshoot. It says there are chargers here, but nobody knows if they're working. Nobody knows how many are in use. So you can pull into an Electrify America station, and there might be 8 chargers there, but they're all in use with a couple people waiting in line. You can go, this has happened to me. I've gone to an EV Go, which is another like Shell or Chevron. These are different companies. There are 8 chargers there. It's midnight, so nobody is there, but all 8 of them are broken and none of them work.
Yeah.
And it's, where do I go now? And luckily, there was a Walmart 20 miles away, but I'm getting low on charge. And if those chargers aren't working at the Walmart, I'm stuck. And luckily I went to the Walmart, and it was again like 1 in the morning. There were, I don't know, 4 or 5 chargers there, but it's not enough for non-Tesla. So I would argue, right, buy Tesla, at least if you're in California or someplace where there's a lot of chargers and you're taking trips, but the range anxiety is gone, at least in California. Between San Diego, the Mexican border, and southern part of Oregon, going up to Tahoe and Reno, there's no range anxiety
Hmm.
at all, unless you're going back roads or someplace, like Death Valley. I don't know if I'd go through Death Valley in an EV in the summer when it's 130. But,
Yeah.
I will say that Rivian just opened up another charging station. And they have one that's at Yosemite. So in Groveland, they have 8 chargers there. I've charged there. Klamath Falls, kind of going up into the wilderness, there's another charger that Rivian has, and they just opened up one in Joshua Tree. So if you're going into Joshua Tree, you can get a charge there.
You sound like a standard early adopter tech enthusiast. It's so much fun to play with this new toy that you're putting up with a lot of inconvenience. And people that just want their car to work are not going to appreciate this nonsense. And we're supposed to have 50% of the fleet be electric by like 2030 or something, right? In
Yeah,
California.
and
That's not going to
here,
happen.
yeah, and here's the story. Remember Dieselgate with VW? VW is fined $2 billion.
Yeah.
$1 billion of that was to go to creating the charging network.
Yeah.
And that company is Electrify America, and they're doing a C job, a fair, they're doing okay, but not they're not, there can be broken chargers. It's not like Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla is doing it right. There are
Yeah.
chargers everywhere. And I'm sure you're over in San Francisco
Oh, yeah.
Peninsula.
I see them
You
everywhere.
see 20, 30, yeah, they're all
Sure.
over the place.
In the city, you'd be fine. But, think about people that live in like a rural area. It reminds me of like broadband. The people in the city say
Yeah,
it's working fine. A whole bunch of the country says, I can't get it. It's too far away.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll tell you, if you get the Tesla adapter, you get on the Tesla network, range anxiety, again, West Coast, California, it's gone.
Yeah. Well, I'm,
You're not
not, I'm
convinced.
not seeing your story as positive as you are. I'm thinking how I would be rushing to get to work, and now I have to wait an hour to charge. And I say, this is garbage. If I just had a gas car, I would be there.
Yeah, but look, if you are commuting to work, you're going to charge typically at home.
Well, most of the people I know cannot charge at home. I have a giant apartment complex here with
Yeah,
1,000 families. Nobody can charge at home here.
yeah, that's
And most of the
yeah,
city, nobody can charge at home. I remember I used to walk past houses and people had taken like extension cords and hung them in the trees
yeah,
and on the sidewalk and everything because they don't have any reasonable way to charge at home. The fact is we need to change a lot of infrastructure before this is remotely practical for most people.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of like post World War II boom. Everybody wants to live in the suburbs, and you got two-car garage with two cars. So instead of a chicken in every pot, it's two cars in every garage, I think was the,
Yes, I mean the people that have like their own
yeah,
garage and their own charger, they're fine,
yeah.
but that is not even half of the audience, I think.
Uh, Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you're living in an apartment, an HOA or a condo, HOA, townhouse,
Yeah,
you might have an issue. If you got a house, it's
sure.
it's
But this
it's
is like so
it's
many things in our
yeah.
society. The rich people are fine, but there's a bunch of us that aren't in that position.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah.
it
Anyway,
is what it is, right?
yeah, well, I
Yeah,
think I think what it means is the electric car fleet is just not going to happen at all at the rate that California or the Democrats think it's going to happen. The bloom is already off the road. Hertz is abandoning their electric vehicles, selling them off just to
yeah.
get rid of them. It turns out they just aren't as great as everybody thought they were going to be.
I got to tell you, I will disagree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're a
That's
tech,
me.
but you've always been this. You're like a tech enthusiast. Like
Not always.
and the Tesla people I know, they're happy because they're basically computer nerds. They love the thing. This is a new fun kind of computer, which is fine for us, but most people just want a car to get places.
Well, look. If you're in San Francisco and all you're doing is driving to work,
Yeah, but
you can you
yeah,
can get and you have a Tesla. It's
sure, sure.
easy to stop for 10, 15 minutes, get a charge and get,
Yeah.
300 miles.
Yeah, yeah. This is like the argument that you should eat like healthy food. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's like telling you people they say you should take the bus. Good luck with that. I mean, they could just take the bus to get to work too, but the Americans are not expecting that. Americans want to see the USA in their Chevrolet. I mean, they've been conditioned for
Yeah.
that, and they have to
Yeah. Yeah.
justify that expectation. Anyway,
Boy, is that a tagline from the past,
oh
huh?
yeah,
Something I haven't heard for years.
it's a big part of our culture, just like guns and alcohol. I mean, you're not going to change these
Yeah.
things in a hurry. Anyway,
Yeah. All
I,
right. What do you got for
well, I
us?
want to talk about Bitlocker. Chaos
Yes.
Communication Congress is meeting again like they do at the start of every year. And a guy there has shown how to bypass BitLocker encryption by downgrading a patched vulnerability. This is possible despite protection by Secure Boot because there's a little known software vulnerability that can be exploited. The vulnerability was patched by Microsoft in 2022, but what you can do is have a downgrade attack to decrypt BootLocker. You have an outdated Windows bootloader is loaded under Secure Boot in order to start Windows in safe mode, And that
Yeah.
causes the BitLocker recovery key to be loaded into RAM. Then you boot to Linux, harvest the RAM, and get the key, and you can bypass BitLocker and get in. Now, there is a way to prevent this, but it is very inconvenient and almost nobody uses it. The way to prevent it is to require you to type in a separate BitLocker key in addition to your normal password. And of course, everybody has it set to the default mode that doesn't require that. And in the
Yeah.
default mode, it's vulnerable. So this seems to me extremely serious. Everybody is trusting BitLocker and thinking I've been telling my students BitLocker is extremely secure. The only known attacks are the cold boot attack and the one where you dissolve the TPM with acid. And both of those are really pretty extravagant. But this is not extravagant. This is like off crack. You just boot from a special version of Linux and blam, you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Microsoft
Interesting.
needs to address this, and it means a whole lot of machines that currently think they're protected by encryption are not very protected by encryption.
So once again, this is a fairly easy attack.
After
Would
it's been
you?
developed, it's pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, it required a weakness. This is what Paul Ashadorian is always talking about, that secure boot has a bunch of problems. And the company he works for is analyzing how to secure boot. Secure boot has some weak spots, and that's
Yeah.
another one of them here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I thought that was important, a flaw in bit.
Yeah, no, that's an important one. So the work around this right now is to have a secondary key, like a two-factor BitLocker.
Right. You have to turn it on to the mode where you really have to type in a BitLocker password and then a normal password, which is going to be annoying to people. But the corporate laptop I used for years was that way. Every time I booted it up, I had to
Yeah.
type in like a 15-digit or 20-digit BitLocker password and then log into Windows. So I guess they were secure.
Yeah, or you could have it stored on a USB key and plug it in, or a key fob, something along those lines.
I
But
suppose. Yeah.
yeah, but you're right. It is another pain. But
Reminds me of the
again,
of the
yeah,
90s when I have to log into Novell and then separately into Windows every time you boot up.
yeah,
But it's a small price to pay for the security of having an encrypted hard drive for a portable
true.
device. I mean, company
Yeah,
laptops that are portable without trustworthy encryption are just a disaster waiting to happen. If someone's going to lose that laptop, it's going to get stolen, and then what?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right. What else you got?
well, I was pleased to see Apple comes out with a statement about lockdown mode. This came out about a year ago. Apple has this special secure mode to stop the advanced malware, which is, I think, Predator, and there's another one like that. This is the stuff that can totally take over your phone, like they used it to attack Jeff Bezos. You get a message, blam, your machine is completely owned. They can see all your email and your text and your photographs and everything. People are very afraid of this stuff. And so Apple introduced a special mode, lockdown mode, to make your phone super secure. And now they're telling you don't turn on lockdown mode because um, it's a special advanced protection designed for politicians, dissidents, journalists, lawyers in sensitive areas of law. The problem is when it's enabled, your phone is much harder to attack, but it turns off a bunch of stuff you want. Certain apps won't work, some websites won't work. Um, Message attachments will be removed. Web pages will not display as normal. Some calls will be blocked. Some photo albums will be unavailable. Some wireless connections will be disabled, and so on. They say, be aware. You don't want to just casually turn this on your phone because you're paranoid. You have to seriously ask, am I a national security reporter for the New York Times or a high
Yeah,
government official? If not, I probably don't really need to turn this on. The question is someone going to use this $1 million attack against you? And that's why a guy like me, I don't think so. But
yeah.
I was pleased to see clear descriptions from Apple about the consequences of lockdown mode because I heard about it and I haven't tried it. And some article said, "Hey, this is great and it works pretty well, so everybody just turn this on." But apparently not. Anyway,
Hmm. Okay.
it's good to know that. Um, And then OpenAI has their latest AI, which they claim is AGI. They claim to have it now. You subject it to a reasoning test that looks sort of like a video game, and it can score slightly higher than the average human on that video game. So they say there, it's the intelligence of a human, which I highly dispute. However, um, in order to achieve that with ChatGPT o3, they have to use so much compute that it now takes well over $1,000 of computing power per query and over 170 times more compute than a lower power version of O3 and leagues beyond its predecessor, which cost less than $4 per task. And remember,
Yeah.
even at $20 a month, they're losing money massively on this. Everything is a loss leader. And this is now over $1,000 per query. And that's why they've been talking about charging $200 a month for it. And even that is not remotely going to pay for it. So, I think the bloom is really coming off the rose of AI. Uh, it's it's not really that smart, and it's way more expensive than you think. So I don't know.
So again, Sam, what's the cost?
For humans, for you to get it, they say it'll be $200 a month. Right now, it's only in like
I see.
limited test phase, I think. But it's
Okay.
costing them $1,000 per query. So even that $200 a month is not even remotely paying for what it cost them. So all these are running
Right.
at a ridiculous loss leader. And Microsoft found they can't even get people to pay $20 a month. Now they just bundle it into Office, so it's effectively free.
Right. Right. Right.
So, I don't know, man. The idea is that computers can be as smart as a human and save money. And that doesn't look that clear at all. It looks like computers can be not really as smart as a human and end up being a lot more expensive than a human. I think people are going to continue to have jobs for the foreseeable future, and so does Gartner. Gartner has a hollow triangle for this AGI stuff saying no hope of any significant progress within the next 10 years. Do not invest in AGI is their message. And
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, uh,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's important. I teach a lot of workshops about it. It's good to understand. Just like blockchain, I taught about that too, with similar caveats saying, there are serious problems with this stuff, but you should know how it works and you can get a job writing it and working in it. Be aware, though, the whole field is kind of, like everything, wildly overinflated in terms of how much value it's really going to provide.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, a caveat you could say about everything. Reminds me of the caveat I often tell my students, which is you should be aware that security is an art, not a science. Here's the experiment. You can hire all the best security engineers, turn on all the best firewalls and everything, and you still get hacked. So you could argue that we're all completely worthless. But
Right.
general
Yeah.
belief that having better security team is good for you, although we can't really back that up with data. So just be aware of that. We're kind of all frauds, but what can you do?
Right. Right.
Anyway. Uh, you got another one?
Yeah. This is kind of an odd one, a little off and kind of sad. You celebrated New Year's and you were in San Francisco, and I've been there after, events that have occurred like football, baseball games, and the fireworks are like crazy, aren't they?
Not this time. I slept through New Year's
No?
like I normally would. Just my neighbors played loud music at like 2 in the morning, but I didn't hear any fireworks at all, which is unusual. I remember during the pandemic, it was like a war zone. All the hills covered with illegal fireworks everywhere. All the dogs miserable. It was obviously no law enforcement at all. I don't know what happened. This place I would expect fireworks, but there was nothing. Anyway,
Huh, maybe they're saving up for New Year's, which is Chinese New Year's in a couple weeks.
I don't know. I doubt that.
Yeah. Well, this is sort of a sad story. So, Honolulu has an enormous problem with illegal fireworks. I don't know if you heard this story. This kind of caught my eye. And somebody was lighting off illegal fireworks, and somehow, whatever they lit off, I guess, slipped a little bit. And one of the illegal fireworks went and shot, I think, towards their garage, which then ignited all the fireworks in the garage and wound up claiming the lives of 3 people and critically burning 21 people.
Yeah, there's a reason they're illegal.
Yeah, yeah. So this is kind of changing things in Honolulu or Hawaii because they kind of had a lax attitude. And people wonder why they should be illegal. And as you probably know, in California, a couple years ago, there was a gender reveal party where somebody had fireworks in the summer in the tall grass, right, in a national park, that they shot the fireworks off. And of course, the grass is going to catch on fire. The Santa Ana winds or the winds had been picking up, and it resulted in one of the largest fires down there, I think, claiming hundreds of homes. No one was injured, but this is the stupidity of people not thinking through this.
Well, I saw this Chinese New Year thing with like amazing drone displays of like an animated
Yeah,
dragon. It seems like maybe drones are a better alternative.
but they're not as safe either.
Really? They're not going to
Yeah,
start a fire or anything, are they?
nope. But there was an out of control drone. I don't know the exact details on this that hit somebody in the face, and the props wound up
Oh, yeah. Well,
causing, some injuries. I don't know how large the drone was. I don't think it was that big, but you wouldn't. The programming was off, the GPS coordinates. I don't know what happened, but somehow it smacked somebody in the head and the face.
yeah. Well, I guess that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm safe at home asleep at New Year's. That's my plan. Anyway,
Yeah, that's my
I'm old
plan
and
too.
boring. Don't go to the parties at DEF CON either. Everybody says these great things happen at the parties. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe they do, but I don't care. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, what else you got?
Well, there's an interesting report. In 2024, wind overtook gas to become Britain's single source of electricity. And I know in California, our electricity was more than half renewable, I think 100% renewable for a whole month recently. So this is a good thing to know. What all the government regulations and environmental activists wanted to cause has in fact been happening because of the marketplace. Renewable energy is now cheaper than polluting energy. And
Oh,
that's
that's
what'll really
interesting.
do it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, except we still have the problem that it's not reliable.
right. And so we need an issue of battery storage or something. That's right. But
Yeah.
yep.
And in Australia, they had battery storage. They had a Tesla battery storage unit that would supply, I think it was uh, Adeline in Australia.
Is that the
They
power?
don't have it. Pardon?
Is that the power wall?
Yeah, they had the power wall that caught on fire that wound up burning for 3 days.
Well, that's the problem. Yes.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
yep. That's the problem. You're going to have a battery full of energy. There's a lot of energy in there. It's like a
yeah.
big tank of gasoline, and it can, of course, go wrong.
It,
You
yeah,
know,
it, yep.
I mean, I've heard of energy storage, like old-fashioned energy storage, where you just like pump water up into a tank or lift a big rock. I wonder why those aren't more popular, but I guess they must not be as efficient.
So the water is used quite a bit. And in California, we use it a lot, a whole lot. The problem is we've we've run out of places to do it.
Yeah.
And the last place that they were going to do it was up off of Highway 80 in Colfax. They built the infrastructure and they built the highway to go over, but they never built the dam. So environmentalists kicked in. And so that's the one place that I know that could still be done,
Yeah.
except it's a really popular wilderness area on the way to Tahoe that people go hiking. And it's around Forestville, Colfax.
Hmm.
And if you take the highway to Forestville, you say, what the heck is this? Why is this highway so high? You look down and it's because you're supposed to be over water.
Uh, well, I guess that's the point. You need so much energy that you have to have a whole big lake full of water. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have the height, but
Yeah.
it does work. But it's one of those things that you're always losing. So you have to have rain or you have to have water or energy to replenish it
Yeah.
at the height, right?
Yeah.
So you pump it up to a reservoir that's high up, and then you let it drain down. And as it drains down, it produces energy.
Yeah.
But then you pump the water back up. So some of the energy that's coming downhill, you use to pump back up, but you do it during the night to pump the water back up.
Yeah.
And the other issue you run into is a lot of these feed streams that salmon and they need a water flow. And so it's not as is it's not as simple as one would think. There's
Yeah.
some complications to it.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. No,
are you
there's no free lunch, is there, so
are
to
you
speak?
are you on Facebook? I never have been.
Nope.
Because I've read about this. Facebook numbers have been plummeting, daily user numbers, to where they quit reporting them and made up misleading numbers to conceal this fact. I've heard about this for maybe 5, 10 years that Facebook is going down, that young people don't use it and stuff. But anyway, now they
Yeah.
have a plan. They're going to simulate a more active service by having AIs make fake posts to pretend to be people posting on Facebook. And so they literally pay people to generate AI slop to fill AI. And people on Facebook, people are complaining that these weird posts keep appearing, this weird garbage that's obviously AI generated. They're just making it look like it. And this reminds me of like a post that came out a while ago when they started making AI generated porn. And I was thinking we're going to have the future aliens are going to come down. The humans will all be gone. There'll be AI creating porn and AIs watching porn. And they'll say, "What madness is this?" Anyway, so
Oh,
Facebook is going to have people pretending to be people. And I guess they're going to be other people with bot farms pretending to watch it and click on the ads and stuff.
well, I mentioned I brought that up a couple months ago about the kid that was on Spotify, and he was creating AI music and had AI listeners,
Yeah.
and I believe that he was collecting $1 million,
Yep. Yep. So
all on fake, right? Fake, fake, fake.
essentially the same thing as cryptocurrency, really. Yeah. All right. And
All right.
in the same
Yeah.
spirit, I should mention this is good, clean fun. Almost the entire U.S. South is now blocked by Pornhub. Almost every single southern state in America has passed a law requiring age gating of access to pornography, and they've done it in a way that is very unwise, that would require every porn site to have copies of your driver's license or something, which is a terrible idea from a viewpoint of security. And so to protest this, Pornhub has blocked them all. And the main effect of this, of course, is that VPN use in Florida jumped by 1,100% within hours of the law coming into force on January 1, and 976% spike in VPNs in Utah, and a spike of 234% in Texas, indicating that over the months as these laws have come in, the citizens of these red states have learned about VPNs. So it's not exactly having meeting anybody's goal. And I
I
could,
mean,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, we're teaching people about cybersecurity. Use a VPN.
yes, that's one silver lining, I suppose. Uh, and now we are living through a massive social experiment as everybody, especially young kids, are consuming vast amounts of porn that they didn't used to have access to. And I remember in the 70s and 80s, the social commentator said this would destroy society. I guess we're going to find out if it destroys society. You could argue, I mean, nobody actually agreed to this. Nobody wanted this. I understand the idea that it probably would be a good idea to block this for the kids, but we're not having any success at doing that. So I guess we're going to find out.
This is like this is like prohibition with alcohol, right?
Well, it is, except there was actually a successful time with porn when kids really couldn't get porn. I mean, before the internet, I was a kid then, and there was essentially no porn around. I mean, there was stores that wouldn't sell it to you, and your parents would find out, and you wouldn't dare go buy it. And so most kids didn't have access to it. So if that was good for us, I guess we were all healthy as a result. I don't know. That's over now. The kids all have vast exposure to porn now, and many people feel like that's bad for them. I have no idea. Uh,
Yeah, I have no idea either.
if it is bad for them, we're all in big trouble because they're totally being exposed to it.
Yeah, but in Europe, it's a completely different attitude. Um,
I don't
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
know a different attitude about alcohol. I don't know about porn. Maybe.
Well, like if you go into a city like Berlin, there's or Amsterdam, there are places, that are sex clubs and porn, and you can
But
buy all
not for
that kind of
kids. I
stuff.
assume you have to be an adult to go in.
Yeah, but the kids, if you're walking down the street, you
Yeah.
say, "Hey, what's that building over there? Can we go shopping there?" And it's like, not until you're an adult.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more kind of out in the open.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, hopefully that would be the good thing is people might just have an adult attitude about this stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah, something else that's interesting is in Europe, or at least in Germany, once you get into high school age, high school kids have sleepovers.
Yeah.
So, and if when parents go on vacation, they bring their son, their daughter, and plus one, and that's just kind of considered acceptable.
Well, I maybe it's all right. I know America's extreme Puritanism when I was young was kind of ridiculous. I don't know. But I mean
I don't know either.
the
Yeah.
problem is extremely unrealistic. I'm sure it causes these kids to have totally unrealistic expectations about sex.
Oh, completely.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that can't be good. I
That
mean,
can't be good.
this
Yeah.
is like, they say TikTok inside China is like educational content like NPR. And, if it was like educational sex education to taught you the truth, that would be one thing. But that is not what it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Years ago, there was a TED Talk, and somebody created a website, and I don't know if it's still going, but it's called Make Love, Not Porn.
Well, yeah. And there's a group of people, trying to make educational erotic content, but that's not even 1% of it, I think.
No, and it's a subscription service
Yeah.
so that you have to post, you have to share, and then
Yeah.
you can see what other people are sharing. But the point is, it's all realistic, and it's not made up, I guess.
Yeah.
It's right.
Reminds
It's
me of
it's not real. It's not hardcore porn,
Yeah, well, see, it
is what
reminds
I'm
me of the
getting.
American food supply. I mean, in principle, you could get healthy food, but in practice, 90% of it is going to be hamburgers and hot dogs and ice cream. And you wonder why people are sick.
And food additives and
Yeah.
and food fillers. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
RFK Jr. is going to save us from all of that by
yeah.
having a raw milk and no vaccines and dead whales and eat bear meat you find on the road and stuff like that. So we'll all
I'm
be.
telling you, it's going to solve the housing problem.
I saw some people actually recommending that and also saying after we kick off all the immigrants, we'll have plenty of housing. Uh,
Yeah, right.
I guess we're going to find out about that too. That's another social experiment.
Yep,
Anyway, I
yep.
got one more, which is
One more. Okay.
this is amazing. I'm sure, like me, for years, at least 10 years, I've heard all these people say, I was talking about something, and then these ads just appeared. Someone has got a microphone in my house. They're
Yeah,
hearing every word I speak. Apparently, it's true. Apple has agreed to pay $95 million to settle a lawsuit saying that Siri turns on without being correctly activated, and they record the conversations and they use them to target ads. It's all true, apparently. Sometimes Siri would be inadvertently activated and speech was detected, and the only clue that users would have is eerily accurate targeting ads that appeared just after they'd been talking about these items. So people kept telling me this, and I kept saying, oh, that can't be true. They wouldn't do that. The legal consequences would be severe. And they said, I don't know, man. I just was talking about like these shoes. And the next day they're trying to sell me these shoes. It's happening. Apparently, it's all true.
so wait, Sam, just to be clear,
Yeah.
this has come up several times before, this story. Nobody has been able to really prove it one way
That's
or
right.
another.
That's right.
And the thought was,
Yeah.
this is what I was told, and this is what I believed, that it was not Apple OS, but third-party apps
It's
that you
Siri.
load.
They've
But
been,
now we know for certain it's Apple.
well, of course, there's a lawsuit. They've agreed to
Yeah,
pay $95 million. Of course, the way the American system works, I think, is they have to deny guilt and then pay the fine. So, it's amounts to a de facto admission of guilt. Um,
I see.
Siri,
But
Siri
it
hasn't
is it
listened to you. Yeah.
yeah, it is Apple. It's not another
Well,
company.
the others
It's
might be doing it too, but
yeah,
apparently it might even be inadvertent. I remember Siri kept turning on during my lecture. It was irritating me. It had to learn how to turn it off. My Apple Watch would keep saying, "I'm Siri." So the thing is, it does turn on randomly. from normal speech when it shouldn't. And I think every time it turns on, it records what you say and transcribes it and uses it to target ads. So I think it was an automatic process that they didn't intend to do this. But
I see.
still, it does show that all those people with this sort of paranoid conspiracy theory sounding thing that somebody's spying on me, I guess they were right.
Yeah, yeah.
I kept
Well,
saying, oh, nobody would do that. But
no, yeah, I was skeptic in the beginning,
yeah,
skeptical about this. But then I'd start talking about things like I'm going to buy 8-inch stiletto heels. And sure enough, I would
you
start
talk
getting
about that a
ads.
lot, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about something
Yeah.
that is a fetish of yours that you don't want everybody else to know, and then Siri allows it to pop up ads for that.
Yeah, I must be 10 years. I've had Apple devices around me all the time. I hope I
Yeah,
haven't said anything terribly incriminating. Of course, all the ads I see are for like, certified ethical hacker training and stuff. So
yeah,
they've got
yeah.
my number. Anyway,
Yeah, so it is interesting though. It is. But again, Apple's paying the
yeah.
75 million.
Yeah, apparently $95 million. Apple users may get
90.
$20 each for up to 5 Siri-enabled devices. So I can get a few checks from them to make up for years of spying on me.
Yeah, interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well,
You got any more?
nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, that's it for me too. So I'll have another one of these on Tuesday.
On Tuesday the 7th,
Uh,
first full work week of 2025.
I guess so. Yeah. All right.